The straw that broke the camel's back is, you know, you're walking out with it. One more bag? Yeah, bring it. Okay, ready? Yeah, drop it right there, okay. Well, take the bag up and do what?
Jump.
Run where, you know? So you have to be careful. So sometimes if I'm load testing a fire escape, and you have to, you load test that side, and you load test the other side. You never load test the whole thing. That way you have some place to run in case something happens.
And plus, we also
Very
have
dangerous.
we also run the safety lines on the side.
Oh yeah, there's safety lines, you got harnesses, you got things just in case crazy things happen. So are we promoting load testing? No. Very costly, doesn't buy any bolts, doesn't buy any paint. A fireman got hurt on this fire escape, and he had to go save a woman and a child out of that thing on the way up. He fell through, he had 2 or 3 checks, gave way, and he fell down, went back up, saved the woman. By the time he was done, 28 years old, he severed something in the spine, disabled the rest of his life. Uniqueness about this case, which we were part of the case, is he sued the owner directly, not for a work-related accident, but for negligence. And he got the guy, and they settled the case right after this, okay? Ready for your test? Not your test, this is proof. This is actual case, court case documentation of where rust comes from. Okay, so once I teach you this, then you're able to say, every time you see a rusty fire escape, you're able to say what? That you have a rusty fire escape or you have structural defects.
Structure.
Right, and the reason being?
Rust comes from the inside.
Rust comes from the inside. An example of that is you can, you know, to make it simple for somebody who doesn't want to hear it, you say, when your car, does your doors rust from the outside in or the inside out? The guy will say what?
Inside.
Well, fire escapes do it the same
It's like
way.
a new car every 2 years.
There you go. That's why. So now you're looking at it, ready? This is a typical connection. Let me tell you how fire escapes are built. You buy a 20-foot long piece of steel and you cut it into small pieces of steel and you join them together with a weld, a rivet, or a bolt. That's how they did it 50 years ago, 100 years ago, that's how we do it today. When we take this naked piece of steel that we get from the mill, that they keep under a shed, under a roof, and you have it in your shop, and you take 2 naked pieces of steel and you put it together and you bolt it, weld it, or connect it, do you prime it before you put it together? Never. So when you put it together and you make a tread, a rail, or whatever, do you ever prime the 2 pieces where they meet?
No.
So is it going to fail sometime in its future? Rust needs 2 things, needs air and water in the form of moisture. So how do you stop air or water from getting into a connection? You seal it with paint. The average lifetime of paint from Rust-Oleum right on their can, if you paint metal, how many years before you have to repaint it 100%? It says right on the can of Rust-Oleum. 7 years. So how many years are we forward? 75. So you got 2 pieces of metal that you seal in a piece of steel, you seal with paint, but when you put it up and somebody ignores the paint, or the paint moves, or the building shifts and the paint cracks, what have you joined together now that will form rust? Air and water that gets inside the connection. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to be spot painting your fire escape from the word go. As soon as you put it outside, you spot paint your fire escape year after year and fully paint it every 7. Did people do that? So you get the surface rust. Has it affected the entire connection yet? This is called surface rust. It happens in the first 5 years of your life. And if you catch it early enough, and you keep scraping that, you keep painting that, guess what happens in this connection? Nothing. It never goes bad. So you're going to find some connections out there that when you look at it, man, they may have a little bit of surface rust right up here, and then underneath it, nothing, it never came through. It's a perfect connection. How old is this bolt?
75 years?
50, 75 years. If you have rivets, they're in the 75-year-old range. If you have square head bolts, they're 50 to 75. So you've got this rivet, and they want a guarantee from you. And there's no rust in the connection. What's the only way you can give them a guarantee?
Put a secondary one.
We don't want to change bolts. What other ways? You got anything else?
Load test.
Look test. So it's easy. The thing is spectacular. It's in good to excellent condition. I only got two options for you. Load test that old bolt or rivet, or we can keep it and just behind it I can put a new bolt if you want, or I can, if it's faster, I can take out that rivet and put a new bolt for you. Now I don't need to load test it. And there's your guarantee that the city is looking for, so nobody gets sued. Sounds fair? 75 years ago they were supposed to do that, did they? No, so they didn't do that. So what happens is that the rust started to get through. As soon as rust gets through and you can visibly see, so you walk upstairs, which you've never done before, but we can show you what to look for, and you see the visible separation of something that used to be like this is now 1/16 away from each other, 1/8 away from each other. What has happened? The connection is now suspect. Can I just change the bolt and leave the rust in there? Well, that's a temporary repair, but is that a certified repair? Because if you leave the rust in there and you put a brand new bolt, what's the rust do to that new bolt of yours? It's gonna eat it. So the correct repair is 100% of all internal rust must be removed. You must prime it, and then before you put it together, should you put some silicone in there, 50-year silicone? What will that do in your future if somebody doesn't want to paint this stupid thing?
It'll help protect the.
It'll help protect the connection, meaning you basically have done to it what it should have been done 50 to 75 years ago, but they didn't have silicone. You are now, before you join the connection, you're filling it with 50-year silicone. And now, even if the client lets the fire escape surface rust, does it penetrate the connection? Right? So that's today's repair. But as soon as you see any rust in any connection, do you have a defect? So you're going to inspect the ladder, you're looking at all these treads, you look underneath, you see nothing but surface rust built up in every clip. You proceed with a ladder inspection. You can.
You can.
Perform your ladder inspection, up and down, 2 or 3, and it passes, but it failed because now, where's this thing heading?
Deteriorating.
It's going to public safety. Can you come back and retest this ladder? Can you proceed any further based on what they're telling us? Because that new confidence test says, this passed, but this failed, what do we got? We got a public safety issue. Are you ever going back there that year to retest, ready for a retest? It's in a whole different department, and they have a fire department, what's that person called from the fire?
Building and safety,
I'm sorry, from building and safety, there's a fire department piece of it, what's he called?
code enforcement.
I think Killian or Darryl gave it a name, but this guy, it's part of the sign off for the permit process to the fire department of anything related, but it's not Reg 4. So you will not Reg 4 or retest that fire escape. Yes, you fill out all the forms, send it all in, but it can't come back to you. Because as soon as somebody pulls a permit to do anything related, the sign off on that, including the ladder, now happens under that permit.
Well, you know, it's interesting, and just thinking about it, you know, as they progress with the regulation side of things, with the reports, is that one of the questions that they're saying now that is, let's say for instance on the sprinkler side of it, that they're requiring permits to replace sprinkler heads or anything. They call us back for a retest. We're supposed to see that permit and record the permit number onto the regulation for retest form. I wonder if that's what they're gonna do with this, or it's just like you're saying, it's gonna be completely out of that realm.
You gotta go find that out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did in answering my fire escape side of things, and that's what I was told. I says, great, let's get the word out. It seems to fit that says if you're gonna pull a permit on this,
Right.
because it's major structural repair, and maybe there's gonna be 2 categories. What is a maintenance repair and what is a structural repair? One doesn't require a permit, the other one does require a permit, because then somebody's gotta sign it off. Who's signing off?
Right.
And in the sign off, are they saying that not only do they want the public safety to sign off on the permit, they want the retester to come back in and start the process again? Well, then state that. State that it's already passed a general permit sign off,
Right.
and now the retester is just basically coming in, and is that an additional cost to the client that shouldn't be dealt with because under the permit sign-off, shouldn't that all be done under the permit sign-off?
Yeah, that
Well,
was- yeah.
who's answering that question? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a good question to ask. Guys, this is what happens when a 1/4 inch of rust grows. And then all of a sudden, it pushes the clip far enough away from the rivet so that because prior to this, the rivet was there, the rust was in there, but what was sitting on top of the rivet? The clip. And so when the clip tried to fall, guess what kept it from falling? But you keep pushing it rust and you get out to the end, what happens? And you got a 1/4 or 1/2 inch of rust between you now and the clip, and there's no longer that rivet there holding the button in place. What happens? You push it out far enough, what happens? You step on it during one of your walkthroughs, and what happens to you?
Breaks.
This is the rust we found when we went back to inspect this guy's fire escape that the fireman fell through. As I was walking up, my foot was dropping treads. This is all with us full of lawyer. This is 3 years later after the guy fell through. We were called in to be an expert witness. So they fixed the treads that he fell through, but everything else stayed the same. So they lost the case and they immediately settled. I want to show you for impact. Oh, I thought, usually I show the hammer test again, but this is how all fire escapes are built in the United States. Every single one, East Coast to West Coast, this is how they're built. 8 to 12 inches deep into the wall through the veneer. So every time you're looking at a busted up cement situation, 8 to 12 inches deep only.
So that would be suspect.
Exactly. And here you have missing pieces, so one C channel is only buried 8 to 12 inches deep into the wall, and it's missing its arm. Yet it's carrying all these staircases with all these broken treads. So you put enough weight on this, what do you think is gonna happen with this much outside the building and only 8 to 12 inches deep in the wall, and you load it with firemen and people? This is the arm, and it has either a bolt or a gusset on the end. And at the very bottom, this is what happens when water is driven into the building. On the arm, those rot out too. This is what it looks like when you have a through bolt into the building. Very few of these masonry buildings have these through bolts, as I mentioned before. And sometimes these through bolts start eating the brick. Get pulled through. Huge water issues. As soon as you can grow ferns and plants on your fire escape, you've got problems. But this is also, if you're looking to grow certain kinds of ferns and plants,
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
this is where you would do it. Because nobody will ever suspect to look at a fire escape for your illegal fern. Unless you're in the triangle up in San Francisco, then you can grow these openly. So a lot of rust, this is what happens. Look at all that pop, the heads and the bolts are still there, but they're gone. It's false. This is a library in Boston for kids. 1 inch of rust on that gusset. Again, if you're growing ferns, fire escapes are a great place to grow ferns. Nobody will ever suspect to look at the fire escape. Fire escape, these are systems to the ground, so if they're not bolted to the building, they can be legged to the building. But this is what happens, as I mentioned before, this is a scrape and paint violation only, until you look underneath it, and then what was it? Right? So that's why a critical evaluation. When a truck hits your fire escape, this is what happens to the veneer. So a lot of guys will fix the veneer. They will not fix what's inside because the damage is inside, not on the veneer. This is a wood structure. All wood structures have a through bolt. Some masonry walls have through bolts, but not many. Cantilevers. We've done the mother theory, right? See what the release arm looks like? Single action requiring no special knowledge. What's important there is that the bar blocks your passage. So even if you don't know what to do, you're gonna push that bar out of the way, that bar is gonna twist down below and release the cantilever to drop down. That's a simple release arm. It also stops people from breaking into your building, because if you throw a rope up, can you pull the nose down if it has no release arm?
Yeah.
With a release arm, you can't break into the building anymore, so it's also a safety issue. So now you see what happens, remember that trash truck backing up? If this thing is out of balance and pointing down, it's gonna rip that whole fire escape down to the ground. See what happens with the release arm open and the chain? So if this thing didn't have that chain, that thing would be pointing to the sky and automatically get a violation. So for $25, you go to Home Depot, put a chain there, tie it there, and even with the thing open, is it balanced? All kinds of wacky things happen on fire escapes. Trash truck hits. Okay.
You find that wherever you go, if you see something like this, you start looking at it and paying real close attention.
Oh, yeah.
That's Sandy too, if I see sprinklers, I'm always looking at the fire alarms.
Well, now that you've had this fire escape class, you will see more fire escapes than you've ever seen in your life.
You're right. Mhm.
They'll stop popping up out of
They'll
here.
stop.
Yeah, I'll be giving you all kinds of leads.
Because well, that's a great line. I'll be giving you all kinds of leads. It ain't gonna happen. You'd think that you'd walk into a building and say, hey, nothing, I'm your sprinkler guy, just so your fire escape in the back doesn't look so hot, you should have it inspected. They're like, yeah, thank you. The one that has to know what they're doing is the city official, who happens to be on a sprinkler call doing whatever, and that's why we teach this nationwide. You're on your sprinkler call, you're doing your thing, you're going back to your vehicle, you happen to walk in the back of the building, you look up. Now that you know the telltale signs of abuse of a fire escape, you're like, hey, the fire escape doesn't look so hot. You go, no, I'll get it painted. Well, you got more problems than just a paint job here. The fact that you let it rust this much, every one of these connections is suspect, so I need you to have it properly inspected by a structural engineer, have the report given to me, and I gotta write you a violation on this. Boom. That guy, he wants a result now. There's no opinion, I'll get to it when I can. So it's not, up to the owner's discretion whether he's gonna do something. No owner wants to go spend money because you said, keep an eye on the back. So staircases, what holds an entire staircase is the stringer gussets. So every now and then you walk down fire escapes, your treads not the problem. The whole staircase can give on you. This is a Chicago 25-story building, hotel. The staircase is not even connected. Yet it's still there. What's holding it is the rails are holding it in position. But you load that with men, firemen, and people, and the whole staircase is gonna drop 10 people. How many years?
25 to 50.
All right, you guys press it then.
Pay attention.
Right? All original hardware, no evidence of maintenance. Trash truck damage, backing up trucks, moving trucks. We usually send every one of them a Christmas bonus, all the trash truck drivers. Yeah. The guys with the thick glasses, we give them always extra. Everything gets looked at, guys. Every single piece of the fire escape. Rust growing on a rail, suspect. Rust growing on the bottom of a rail, suspect. Treads and grading, separators and rust in the connection, suspect, right? Automatically fails the structure. Because if you pass the ladder portion of this and you don't note this, and you pass the ladder, they take that as a fire escape assembly that passed. Somebody traps their foot on this, falls through here, what happens to you? Then try to explain yourself. No, we didn't inspect the fire escape. Yes, you did. You walked it. Any rust you see anywhere, on a joint, in a connection, they can still pass that ladder. But did they pass the Reg 4 test? No. Because now the confidence test has yes, no's in it, doesn't it? Does it remind you of anybody? They ever had yes, no questions before? So now they have yes, no questions, and 75% of the yes, no questions relate to the ladder, 25% relate to the fire escape and what that means. Any no's in that test, so your ladder can do well. But what it's attached to did not, So you failed your Reg 4 ladder test, which is kind of confusing because the guy I didn't bring you here for a fire escape test. I brought you here for a load test, a Reg 4 test on my ladder. Okay, well, see the questions I have to answer here? Yes. Oh, no, automatically, boom. Those no's are on what page?
Well,
Second page.
depends on if it's a specific question on the new form.
Exactly.
If not, it'll be on that section 5,
Exactly.
right to the building and safety.
Exactly. So that's it. So if you're answering no to a specific question you did say no,
Right.
and then otherwise it's one of your observations,
Either way, it's going to building and safety.
and either way, you're not Reg 4 testing anymore. You're not coming back anytime soon. Because now what's there is permittable and subject to the load test or the other evidence of strength. Which is Reg 4 asking for that? Are they asking for a load test or Reg 4 other evidence of strength?
No.
So this is truly a building department issue. But is it referenced anywhere back to fire code?
Yeah.
4604.17.
Of course.
So you bring them in anyway? And is it anything to do with Reg 4?
Nope.
Is it to do with the fire station?
Nope.
Is it?
Well, they're the authority having jurisdiction. but
Well, they
They're
are.
generating it too.
They're saying, no, go kick it out to these guys first, so you do. So
Right.
the building department has their code,
Mm.
which we've listed here.
Oh,
And so there's a load test or other evidence of strength. And you're still gonna drag in fire prevention. You say, hey, fire prevention, your 4604.17 is gonna be satisfied here. So whether they knew they were gonna get dragged in or not, aren't you dragging them in?
Yeah.
Say, hey, hang out, there's a big party going on. You know what I'm saying? Is Reg 4 involved?
Yep.
Reg 4?
Well,
Once it goes to permit?
No.
Nope. They're out of the picture. They're in the picture once you get to the cycle.
Right.
And as soon as you sign off that permit, isn't that the yearly cycle from there on? Or is it back to
No,
the?
from the initial test.
So that's the other point. Sometimes you have somebody that is tested every February, and you fix their fire escape in January, guess what happens? February, they have to start the Reg 4 testing again, even though it just got signed off a month before. That's another piece you have to remember on your test. It's good. So, and you see any of this on any fire escape, are you gonna pass that, Reg 4?
Definitely.
How many years?
25 to 50.
This is a elementary school. Every day, kids were coming up and down this to get into school. How many years?
50 to 70.
There you go.
That's 50 to 70.
How many years? Amazing, right? 3/4 plus, not 1 inch. Ladders too, guys. The ladders are an important part. You guys know these, right? Seen these? The area?
Well,
Up in San Francisco they have, but
I've never
every,
seen any of those down here.
it's basically a standard ladder. You release that and 4 sections
Right,
slide
so
down.
Telescope.
Telescoping ladder. See the release arm up above and stuff?
We see a lot of the, like those, yeah.
Accordion ladders, mainly up in San Francisco.
They have a lot of them down here downtown now.
Yeah, not a lot, but a handful here and there, right?
In fact, we had one the other day that we dropped and didn't go all the way down to the ground.
Exactly, it has to go to the ground and hit the ground, right?
It was like, how do they build this thing? It's like on a cable or something to adjust it, right?
Yeah.
So something like that, a repair like that, that's a maintenance repair, correct?
Correct. Again, it's hard to explain now. You're no longer being asked. Your Reg 4 has changed
Yeah,
because of that form. 75% is questions about this ladder.
right.
25% asks you to give an opinion of what it's attached to and you think it's safe. So if all of a sudden you give an erroneous opinion, you think, well, that looks safe to me, and you sign off that ladder, and something happens on the rest of the fire escape, what did you just do?
Well, we're not signing off just on the ladder though, now.
I
We're
know.
signing off on the.
So I'm asking you, You
Oh,
looked
yeah.
up and you said, it doesn't look that bad, I'm gonna say it's okay.
Right.
And you signed off on the ladder, what did you just do?
Well, we signed off on the whole thing,
Right.
yeah,
So, what kind of critical examination should be done on the backside?
yeah.
That was one of the things that Inspector Killian spoke with me about, that says most likely they're gonna be going to the 5-year rule. San Francisco does it, they have the 1-year rule on ladders, they have the 5-year rule on the whole system by a structural engineer. They believe to limit your liability and scope on the back, your opinion of whether it's attached to, could that get you into some trouble legally?
Yeah.
So, you understand, you're kind of now saying, I will certify this ladder, because it is good, it does drop 2 to 3 feet per second, but I'd rather bring in somebody else now just to give me a quick eyeball on this, and it's gonna cost you extra. It's either a structural engineer that the owner gets in on the rest of the structure, or you hire somebody to come in and give you an opinion on the rest of it. And is that controlled under Reg 4? It's an independent inspection by a structural engineer or a firescape engineer, having nothing to do with Reg 4. But now that Reg 4 is starting to step into that, they see the landmine that you could be stepping on. So that 25% that now changed onto that form, you now need to work backwards and say, hey, I really don't have enough expertise to tell you about the rest of this. That really needs to have somebody that is licensed in structural or firescape. So fixed ladders, you see a lot of these, right?
That's,
Hydraulic.
hydraulic.
No, it's a weight balance,
Oh,
cable.
yeah, we don't see a lot of them with the weights hanging off the side of them, but within the tracks.
Yeah, within track. Well, that's a very good point. Cable snaps, what happens to this?
I think we did see one recently like that,
Yeah.
didn't we? That had like that cement weight hanging off the side of it.
Yeah, so what
It was
happens?
just, it was just free hanging. too.
That's right.
It wasn't even guided or anything.
That's right, so if it's not guided, you pass it. And if it doesn't have a release arm on it, because in case the cable snap, what stops this thing from dropping if the
Yeah.
cable's dropped?
Yeah.
So, why do you need a release, a latch on ladders
Right.
that are either hydraulic or weight balanced? Because if there's a failure on the hydraulic or the cable, what keeps it there?
Nothing.
The release.
Oh, the release, yeah.
So, and these weights are supposed to be on guides. In case the weights go, where do they stay? On the guide. Otherwise, they plop off and do what?
Yeah.
Hit somebody on the head. And then the thing guillotines down and hits them on the head.
We did see
You guys have to check everything over to the roof. How often do you climb all the way to the roof?
that. Every time.
Very dangerous, isn't it?
That's educated.
Scary. Because now,
He's gotten over his fear.
but wait, but are you dropping this 2 to 3 feet per second?
No, that's the fixed gooseneck over the top.
Well, wait a second, you're confusing me. You're a Reg 4 tester. What are you inspecting this for?
Well, they ask us about it now.
Ah, they're asking you about it now. But is this part of the ladder system down below, or is this part of the fire escape system?
That's the fire escape.
So do you really need to climb up and down these things?
Yep.
No, you don't.
Well, as far now, but they're asking us specific questions.
Okay, let me give you some, I need to keep you safe, so can I go to the roof and look at this?
Yep.
Do I have to go up and over? Or can I just lean over? In leaning over, and I see nothing but original hardware,
Right.
square head bolts or rivets. Okay, you're gonna grab your utility knife and open that up and see how it's attached?
No way.
So what is the proper way to load test this?
Live load.
Are you gonna do anything right there and then on your inspection? And is this suspect because you see no evidence of maintenance? It's 50 to 75 years. Is it suspect?
Yeah.
Only to be confirmed by a load test or other evidence of strength. You've looked at it, you see any other evidence of strength on this thing?
So what about if you?
Well, let's stay on the
Okay.
target here. Do you need any other, do you need anything else? Do you need to put your live load? I've showed you all the live load testing of all the people that are dead. You want that? So now, is a visual opinion saying that I got nothing but original hardware, 50 to 75 years old. I cannot tell you whether it works or not, because I'm not about to climb over. There's no evidence of strength or other evidence of satisfactory strength, so I'm not climbing over this thing. And I'm telling you that a load test is the only cure for this thing. So whenever you walk up to a fire escape, you see no evidence of maintenance. Can you already pass that fire escape?
No.
So then you go up and over, and you don't go up and over, you go down and you climb up, and you look up the ladder to the roof, and you see square head bolts. What do you say?
Fail.
Fail, because it has what do you call it? Original hardware. Now, how can I guarantee, because that original hardware, I'm looking for rust connections, probably, and it doesn't have any. So how can I certify that for you?
Live
load test.
Right.
So if they want the guarantee, a live load test is coming. So every yearly inspection is gonna automatically bring you a 5-year load test, isn't it? So I look up and I see this thing I'm down below. You guys ever seen these ladders where they chop it and break it into 2 pieces and flop it up? Okay, be careful of these, because this is a modified ladder system where you actually push this thing out and it swings out and hits the ground. What happens if you have to be on the ground underneath it as a child, a dog, or a fireman?
That's not a good.
Wrong place, wrong time, you're gonna get smashed in the head. So look out for modified ladders, because when they flop out, they do that.
Yeah.
So this is some of the things that the city officials have been doing. They've been taking permits and tying this all in. They've been doing the 3 to 5 year program. We've done training with housing authorities, building inspectors, fire prevention. We record every single session whenever possible, and do what? Make it public. Once we make it public, what happens? It's common knowledge. Once it's common knowledge, what can't you do?
Can't claim ignorance.
Can't claim ignorance, can't go back. Washington DC, you know, Obama land, right? When we get in there and do what? These are all fire prevention. You know how many violations they wrote that year
Wow.
prior to this inspection, to this training? You would expect these guys with, you know, with all the requirements and the capital, that they would be doing everything to keep everybody safe with so many, homeland security, blah, 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 and we get there, we find them. So, but we've taught classes in Portland, Oregon, New Jersey, Chicago, Texas, and we find the same thing, but we record it, put it up online, they can't claim ignorance. And then you need to, one inspector at a time. We mentioned that. You can build a relationship with your local inspector, and if your forte is sprinklers, if your forte is water pumps, I highly recommend you start recording a lot of your inspections and put them up on your website. And a lot of these people is how to inspect a water pump, how to properly inspect a sprinkler, what to look for. Record a bunch of these things and put them up online. When you do a how to inspect a fire escape, what do you find? Fire escape services, fire escape engineers. Why? Because we're the only ones putting out videos on how to do this and how to do that. So we set the bar where? Otherwise, you want an opinion, you pay for what you get. So Tacoma, does this confidence test look like to anybody you know? Is it back to the yes, no's? That's the Tacoma checklist. We loved it, so we incorporated it, the yearly. Who does it? Joe Schmo regular. We put the burden of proof on the owner to walk his fire escape every year. Structurally every 5 by a structural engineer, but we make the owner with a city official who does the yearly inspections on that commercial building. We make the owner say, it's a great line. We tell we get a chuckle out of this every time we're in fire prevention class. So you got your yearly inspection and you walk up to the client and say, hey, how's your fire escape? He goes, great, great. Who's gonna walk it? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, I need somebody to go to the roof, climb over the gooseneck, come down the whole fire escape, activate the ladder or the cantilever and walk down to the ground, and then reset the system for me, please. And give me my yearly. You know what happens then? Because you've been doing it for free. They say, well, my maintenance guy doesn't want to do it, so who do they call? A plus. Yeah, we got that yearly, can you come down? Well, yeah, you're ready for us in February. Yeah, I know, but the guy's here and he wants that stupid yearly paper there. Yeah, we'll come down, $8, $9, you know, whatever you want to charge them to. Basically, you can send your slave son over, up and over the roof. I'll be right down. Son, get your backpack on.
I'll be waiting down here.
I'll be waiting.
Parachute on, yeah.
So, that's what this is about, great ideas. These are all things that, again, we're in an industry that nobody's doing anything about it, so,
Do the fire authorities contact you for training, or do you contact fire authorities? How do you get in there to do this?
both. We again, since that Channel 7 news report, we just started introducing ourselves. My very first seminar I ever taught was in Newton, Massachusetts, to the Home Inspector Association. They needed a speaker. And then, bing, the light went off. I says, oh man. So then I started calling up housing inspectors, building inspectors who have association meetings once a month. Said, hey, you need a speaker? Yeah, how much? I want a cup of coffee and a donut. Outrageous. With sprinkles? Yeah, with sprinkles. Oh. And then I started flying anywhere around the country, and a lot of times I coordinate my flights with a class. So if I'm going to Seattle, I'll say, hey, I can do a class, it's free, and I wiggle in any way I can, and then, and so you're looking at the first ever sponsored one, which is now, I'm now waiting for them. I now call them and say, hey, I'm having a class in your area, would you like to attend? And Darryl Boland was supposed to be here, but he couldn't make it, but it's one of those. Some will attend, some will not attend, but it's getting recorded anyway, and it's gonna be up online. But this is the repair and procedures, but I just wanted to say, I got this out of a cookie, a fortune cookie. A sure way to predict the future is to invent it. Isn't that what we're doing here? So if it ain't been done for me, I'll do it myself, and as long as it makes sense. So that's what we did here. Right now, this is what the city of Boston has been, that I have to sign for the city of Boston. And this is that document that I made with the help of a state building official from Massachusetts. In Boston, all they ask of me is, says right there, to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief, the fire escape egress is in conformity with the Mass Building Code. Is this a guarantee or an opinion?
That's an opinion.
Can I get sued on this opinion? I can't, but I'll win because they asked me for my opinion.
Right.
They don't ask me to load test, even though the code is very clear that it says on here, 1001.3, and we read 1001.3, it says, examine or test and certify, but they're not forcing the load test. They're also not reading. But the classes that I've been having, there's 4 associations in Massachusetts. I've had classes in all 4 associations, so every building inspector that belongs to an association in Massachusetts has had one of these classes, whether you attend it or not, because I can send them a link to the class. So now, whether Boston wants to follow this or not, or eventually follow this in law or not, I got smaller cities that are doing what? Reading the code and saying, you know what, that is exactly what it says. I am the authority having jurisdiction. You know what? I want some guarantees. So, bring it on. Give me a load test or other evidence of strength. And currently, right now, if you spot repair your fire escape, I still want my load test. You give me a refurbished fire escape, because the majority of them are 50, 75 years old, they've never been refurbished anyway, you're heading down that road anyway. So you give me that, we avoid the load test. But that's the only thing I have to fill out for Boston. But a majority of the cities, okay, the majority of the cities in Massachusetts are now, one at a time, basically saying, give me the load test or the other evidence of strength. And this is our law, our code. All exterior steel wooden stairs. So guys, fire escapes and wooden stairs. How much work is involved in exterior wooden stairs here in California? Forget steel. How many wooden stairways you have here in California that fall into this code? Not Mass Code, this is the International Building Code, International Fire Code, and in the NFPA. All exterior stairways.
Oh, yeah.
How many you got here in California that need to be tested? So this is the tip of the iceberg, and we're focusing on fire escape, but eventually, what's this gonna hit?
Residential.
Every exterior steel or wooden stair. Because that's what it says here, right? Now watch.
Yeah.
This is how big our market is in Massachusetts. That is not a market yet. It says in your code, all exterior bridges. So if you have any little stupid bridge in your property that it doesn't belong to the state, I have to inspect it. Steel or wooden stairways. Have I mentioned fire escapes yet? Everything that's exposed to the weather, the code says you gotta test it and certify it. Fire escapes, where they are, or they also say egress balconies, so all those Romeo and Juliet balconies, what do they need? Testing. How big is the market?
Pretty big.
Ginormous. Must be examined and or tested and certified. What's this word mean? Two ways you can get this. Go test or refurbish. Any other way? That's what the law already says that. Examined and or tested and certified. So you're certifying the test or you're certifying the examined, other evidence of strength, every 5 years by a Massachusetts registered professional engineer or others qualified and acceptable to the building official, who shall then submit an affidavit, which is a fire escape confidence test, to the building official, who is the authority having jurisdiction, shall be permitted to approve any fire escape that has been shown by load test or other evidence of strength. So how big can you make it in every market? As big as you want. How do you eat an elephant? That's right, one bite at a time. So with all three codes here, talked about the confidence tests. Repair criteria, it's right in your book, right? So you want to know how to fix a fire escape? It's very difficult. Let me tell you how to fix a fire escape. Ready? I gave you a repair criteria. And it's very simple. Any connection, ready? All original hardware identified or not in the report as major critical connections will be repaired, reinforced or replaced, scraped, wire brushed, spot primed, and sealed with 50-year silicone as per contract, as per industry standard. So everything says remove the rust and repaint it. So all this inspection criteria says all original hardware needs to be replaced, reinforced, sealed. That's the extent of the repair criteria. Okay? So, this is great. We taught the City of Lowell. Gave them a class. Guess what they put in with your tax record? So a class, your tax records, everybody in the city got one of these that says if you have a fire escape, you must have it inspected. So some of our classes do what in the city?
Generate revenue?
Oh, generate activity, we call it.
Okay.
You don't call it revenue. You call it activity.
Got it.
These are some of the letters we write. We go out every time we have an inspection request on any city. We always send this letter to the inspector saying, hey, we're about to inspect something in your city. Are we qualified or not? And here's our inspection criteria. Do you agree or disagree with it? And this is basically a conversation to lead them to, do you want a load test or other evidence of strength? Makes it easy. To whom it may concern. We're doing a load test in your area. We're gonna do all these things and give you all this documentation. We're gonna follow these repair procedures. This is one of our typical inspection reports.
No, this one.
Okay.
You guys wanna see some crazy fire escapes out there? You ever see a slidescape? This is a 12-story slidescape.
Slidescape.
It's right here. And down at the very bottom, you go into a straight slide with your feet first, and you smash into a door panel that opens up into an area that leads you to the street. These two doors right here, that's the roof. And every floor below has those same two doors that you open up and you look down.
Ooh, scary.
Disneyland ride.
Yeah.
And you go in without a potato sack, head first or tail first, whatever way, because you gotta jump in. There's no like little landing and get yourself ready. It's like, hey, go. Like, whoa! And then dark, like you wouldn't believe. This is the flash that you can't see. After a while, you can't see. It's called a slidescape. And this is typical of buildings in the 1900s that were Art Deco buildings, and that's what that is. an
How
Art
wide
Deco
are they?
building.
How wide?
And acceptable. This is a an acceptable means of egress. You can't build them today, but if you find one of these, you gotta certify this one.
Yeah, a big person could get stuck in.
Oh, no,
Log up that.
you'll get punched through, believe me. You pack enough kids there, you're gonna, I don't care how wide you are, you're going down. So, again, industry standards, industry documentation, industry reporting, engineer oversight, everything is about marking, you know what I'm saying? So, tags, confidence tests. So, if there's no standard, create the standard. Now, every fireman is safe when they get to a place and they see a white tag. They're not gonna be worried about this. You guys ready? That's the old way of getting off a building. How about skyscrapers? Everybody was concerned about,
If you live in a high-rise building, you probably at least wondered how you would get out of there if there was a fire. Those fears became all too real for thousands of Americans on September 11th. Many were trapped in the World Trade Center towers as the floors below them burned. Well, now inventors are working on new technology to help people get out alive. Ari Otzer has a look at one invention. Hey, come on.
And down he goes. Looks simple, and it is. The Recover-All high-rise evacuation system being tested on this day by firefighters.
I think this is impressive. It's pretty easy to set up, it's easy to use, it's
Up to
hands-free
50
operation,
stories.
it's self-contained. I think it'll work.
Our equipment was designed specifically to be used by senior citizens, by children. That's why we chose a device that is fully automatic in operation. That's why we enclosed the victim inside a full coverage suit.
so you can hold a
which
child
eliminates
inside,
fear of
a
heights.
dog
First
inside.
step for evacuation is
You
putting
jump
on
off,
a big suit.
drops you 2
Kinda
to
makes
3
it
feet
look
per
like a
second.
potato, but this actually
These units
protects
cost
you
anywhere from
heat
$2,500
and
to
flame if you're in a real
$5,000
fire
a piece,
situation.
depending on
The
how high
firefighters
you're
let
gonna
us
go.
go for a test ride. Picture one of these machines on your condo balcony ready to use, or in your high-rise office.
Self-evacuation.
stored away
This is not a
for
means of egress, this is a third means of egress. For self-evacuation out of a high-rise.
Once you push back and let go, the machine lowers you gently to the ground at the rate of 3 feet per second.
When you drop on one side, the other back comes back up, so it's, you can use it over and over again.
Same rate, all the way down to the
Got it?
ground. So the obvious question on everyone's mind is, would this system have made any difference in the World Trade Center disaster?
My personal opinion is this would have saved some people up there, absolutely. This cable, they said, it was effective up to 1,000 feet. That's 100 floors.
Lieutenant Mike Nugent was there, part of the South.
That's $2,500 to $5,000. It's about $2 million to $5 million for one of these. Again, third means of egress. But for high-rise systems, high-rise buildings, already approved. This is in Israel, already working on a 22-story building. Fully automated, totally controlled by the fire department. That's the secret, collapsible elevator. Fire department controls everything. Again, third means of egress. You've already evacuated buildings, you've already used all the stairs, elevators. This is when everybody got trapped and everybody went to the roofs. You couldn't come down for whatever reason. Third floor is demolished from an explosion or something. This is how you get people off. It's a third means of egress. $2 to $5 million for one of these systems. Puts firemen into the building right away.
And you got friends.
Takes 30 to 50 people per box, depending on the size of the box. But you can get multiple floors, as you can see, are being evacuated as we speak. So you're taking out of the building 50 to 150 people at a time. So while the firemen are fighting the fire, there's a rescue mission going on. $2 to $5 million.
And these are only working right now in Israel?
Yeah, they're trying to get them into the United States, already approved for use in the United States, but it's $2 to $5 million. Now, if you're buying a $3 million condo on some high rise. You don't think that would be cool for them to say, by the way, stairs? Thank you. Technology. Do you guys like that?
Yeah, that's
They're
cool.
available online. Search on the high-rise escapes. That guy's out of, he's out of Israel. And he invented, he won right after the 9/11. He invented that. And he's been trying to put it into America. Another piece of the puzzle, and that is a lot of people don't realize in a lot of these schools, when you have the fire drills, 2 a month. And if your building has a fire escape, you're supposed to use the fire escape with the kids. Required by law. You're supposed to use the closest egress system. Okay, so fire drills. So we went over the codes. I think we beat the codes to death. Now, all exterior steel or wooden stairs, and this is the end of our class. Is this exterior steel or wooden stairs? 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 Egress balconies. Exposed to weather. Exterior. Is this exterior? Is this exterior? Is this exterior? Are these exterior? Catwalks and such, are they exterior? Are these exterior? Are these exterior? Are these egress balconies?